It doesn't matter if you are a new player in Football Manager or an experienced one, I know that mentoring kind of has that reputation of being a black box filled with mystery. Well, since I know a lot of you are struggling with it, I have decided to take you on a trip through the whole mentoring madness so you can master it yourself in the future. Let's rock! Hey guys, welcome back to the FM Scout channel. My name is Jochen aka Leyodemus, and today, as mentioned in the intro, I'm going to tell you everything I know about mentoring. In today's video, we are going to break down mentoring to its bare bones, and that will give you all the information you need to tackle it yourself. But first, as always, if this is the kind of content you enjoy and want to see more of, hit that like button and subscribe to the FM Scout channel if you have not already. Also, feel free to check out my own channel, Leyodemus. A link is down in the description. I'm currently in the middle of a cheap WONDERKIDS series, and in January, I'm going to start a live streaming series right here on YouTube. And the last thing I'm going to mention before we actually get started is this. If there is anything I am doing in Football Manager that you cannot see in your version of the game, it's probably a skin thing. I am using the Rensie skin instead of the default skin, so if there are certain things that I am doing that you cannot do, it's probably because of that. Check out the link down in the description to the FM Scout website. You can download the FM Rensie skin among a bunch of other things to enhance your Football Manager experience. And guys, I highly recommend you keep watching until the end of the video, because not only am I going to do the theoretical explanation for everything around mentoring, I'm also going to show you a practical example at Bayern Munich that I did for one whole season. So first of all, what is mentoring? Well, it replaced the tutoring functionality in FM19. And I mean, let's all be honest here, the tutoring thing was really overpowered and in my opinion quite unrealistic, because you could have some massive results overnight. I'm kind of glad they replaced it with mentoring. And while tutoring was a one-on-one relationship thing, mentoring is all about a group of players training together on the pitch, but also spending time together off the pitch. Now, obviously, we have the mentor and we have the mentees, and there are three things that can be passed from the one to the other. Player traits, mental attributes such as determination and leadership, and a couple of hidden attributes that kind of make up a player's personality. Now, I'm not going to deep dive into these hidden attributes nor the personalities, but there is a link down in the description to this website because it will give you a detailed explanation about all of those things. Make sure to read it because this is a very important preparation if you want to be able to at least understand what is going on within the mentoring functionality. Now, speaking of those hidden attributes, they are also really important to kind of determine if a player's mentoring is going to give any results. So apart from the actual quality of the mentoring group, even if you have set that up to perfection, it is still very possible that a certain player simply does not get any results out of it, and then it probably has something to do with his personality or those hidden attributes. And the last thing that you can also use mentoring for is to get certain players who are, for example, new at the club, to get them into the core social group as fast as possible. But more on that in the demo at Bayern Munich. Now, before I'm going to explain this screen, let me first go to my staff tab here, to responsibilities, training. Now, even if you have delegated these two things to your assistant or anyone else, for the love of God, tick this box right here. I'm not saying you won't get any mentoring emails if you don't tick it, but let's be honest, you will want to see those training emails because a bad training or an unsuited training, if you will make a player unhappy, and you will want to know about that. So just tick the box, and FYI, these two things do not matter. You can set them on take control yourself or you can delegate them to anyone else. Mentoring is kind of separated from this all. Because if we go back to the mentoring screen, training, mentoring, and on this screen you can actually see a button, Ask Assistant to Assign. I'm just going to click it for now because I want you to take a look at these columns right here. Because there is a reason these columns are here, man. I'm telling you, hierarchy is a very important thing within mentoring because a good mentor is probably a team leader or at least a highly influential player. Social groups also matter, and if you have no idea what this is, go to your Dynamics tab right here, Social Groups. In an ideal world, every single player within your first team squad is within the core social group. But you can see there are different reasons why they wouldn't be, because, for example, secondary social group A, this group is made up of French players. A perfectly realistic and logical scenario, right? Secondary social group B, the group is made up of players who are of similar age and who share similar levels of professionalism. Hold up, professionalism, hidden attribute. Personality is also here, obviously, because maybe this is even the most important column of them all, combined with the last two. But, spoiler alert, as you will see in the results at the end of this video, do not allow yourself to be blinded by these two columns alone. So guys, before we continue, a quick reminder: if you have any questions whatsoever during the video, even after you have seen the entire video, do not be shy, use the comment section. We have had a lot of interaction on the previous episode, which, by the way, if you have missed, there is a link right there. But yeah man, do not hesitate to use the comment section, and also I would really like to know your results before and after this video of the mentoring you are doing in Football Manager. So use the comment section, let me know. That being said, let's have some fun. So before I show you how I have set things up at Bayern Munich, let's go over the mentor and the mentees. And let's start with the mentor. Age is not that important as you would think. If I quickly switch over to West Ham United, you will see, if I go to Dynamics Hierarchy, that Mr. Declan Rice is a team leader. And he has a resolute personality, which is awesome sauce. If I click on Declan Rice, you will also see that he is only 22 years old. So yes, logically I know we are not gonna have a 20-year-old mentor a group of 30-year-old players, but also know that it is not as set in stone as you might think at first. If we switch back over to Bayern Munich, you can see the dynamics right here. We have 3 team leaders and we have a couple of highly influential players. The mentors you will want to have are without any doubt in those 2 groups. And as I showed you with Declan Rice, the personality is also shown here. So basically you have all the information you really need for choosing a mentor in one screen. Now about these different personalities, I am going to refer back to that website I showed you earlier, because it is really important to understand them, because it's also very possible you have a team leader with a not so great personality, and trust me, you do not want that guy to be a mentor. Next thing to consider is the mentor's position on the pitch and his player traits. So let's have a look, for example, at Lewandowski. Boom. So we all know he is a striker, right? And he has a couple of player traits. Now the question is, if you are putting him into a mentoring group as a mentor, which you definitely should, is it the goal to pass on those player traits, or is it the goal to pass on his personality, or both? Because if you want to pass on those player traits, you will probably have to consider that when choosing your mentees, because they also have to be somewhat near his position on the pitch. So strikers, maybe also wingers, could suit the cause. But just know that if you are having a goalkeeper as a mentee with Lewandowski, there will be no player traits transferred. And another often overlooked side note on this is, if this mentor has negative player traits, he will also possibly transfer them to his mentees. The game does not care. It does not filter on the positive traits only. It will just pass on all the player traits, if anything is passed on, of course, to the mentees. And the last thing to consider when choosing a mentor has everything to do with the social groups we talked about earlier. I think it is the best scenario that you pick a mentor who is in the core social group, but know that it's not really necessary, because it depends on what your goal is for that specific mentoring group. More on that later. Now, a question I got in the previous video was, is it also possible to put multiple mentors into one mentoring group? And the answer is hell to the yes. I see that Manuel Neuer, although he is a pretty decent mentor, is nowhere to be found in any of these groups. So what I could do is to add him, for example, to this first group. So in this first group, if I sort by estimated influence, it is pretty obvious that we now have 2 mentors and 2 mentees. And the only question really that you want to ask here is it worth it to put Neuer in that same group, or to put a second mentor in general in an already existing mentoring group? Because maybe you need him elsewhere in another mentoring group, or maybe it's just not worth it if his personality, for example, is not better than the mentor that we already had, or if it has a negative influence on this column right here. Don't do it, but just know that it is very, very possible. And now for the mentees. There is a really dirty trick I'm going to show you, because in theory, in here you can only select players from your first team squad, right? But if I go to training and then units, I'm not going to deep dive into this. This is something we'll cover in the team training episode. Know for now that you can add under 19 players to these different units. So for example, I'm going to choose someone out of the offensive unit in the under 19 squad. Let's say Lucas Copado. I have no idea who he is. So remember, I didn't really add him to the first team squad. He is still in the under 19 squad, but he is training now with the first team players. If I then hit continue and we go back to training, mentoring, let's do this again. And now you can actually see that my assistant manager added Lucas Copado to mentoring group number 3. Now, if I remove him from that group and I try to add him myself, he's nowhere to be found, because as I said, this is purely a list of your first team players. But if you do it like this and then you ask your assistant to assign the groups and he adds the player to a certain group, basically you can delete everyone except for that player and then start a group from scratch. Do I do it? No. Why, you might ask? Well, I don't really like to add players from the under 19 squad to the training units, but again, more on that in the team training episode. Now, the main thing to think about when you add mentees to a mentoring group is that their personality is worse than that personality of the mentor. Now, if you think about it, it is a very existing scenario, and I've been there, that you can form a good mentoring group, not even one, with the players in your current first team squad. My advice is, if that is the case, simply do not do it. Because if the mentee's personality is already better than the mentors, we'll have negative results. And let's be honest, that's the last thing we want. Now, the age thing I kind of covered already, so think about it logically. It is not normal for a 20-year-old mentor to mentor 30-year-old mentees. Done. But apart from that, it's not that important. My advice would be, do not go higher than 25 years old when you're adding mentees to a group, because for me personally, I've never had any success with that. And the last thing to consider when adding mentees to a group is, of course, the social group they are in. Now, as I already told you in the 5 tips video, the ideal scenario is that everyone within one mentoring group is already in the same social group. But, and I told you I would get back to this, if your goal is to get a certain player who is new at the club, for example, into the core social group as fast as possible, you can literally use that as a goal for that mentoring group. Now, there was one comment on the previous video that I thought was really interesting, and that's why I'm showing you this. If you have a new player arriving at the club, the game always gives you this, because the game says it would be advisable to ask Manuel Neuer if he'd be willing to welcome Ambedozic to the club to help him settle in successfully. Now, apart from the comment, this thing is kind of a mini version, a short-term version also, of mentoring that will go on. It's actually there in the game already. But what they suggested is, if you use that same player that the game suggests as his actual mentor in those mentoring groups, it might give you an added bonus to the possible results of that group. Now, in all honesty, I did a couple of tests with this, and I can't say that I actually saw the added bonus, but that does not mean that it's not true. So guys, feel free to experiment with this, or let me know in the comment section if you already did and what the outcome was, because I am eager to find out. And now for the final chapter in the video, my little experiment at Bayern Munich. Now, I'm not going to go over everything I've told you in the past 15 minutes again, but I will show you how to create a new group. And it's pretty simple, really. You go add group, you gave it a name, test, go to here, add player. And again, if you can't see these columns, or if you are not able to insert a new column, for example, the social groups, it has to do with the skin that I told you in the beginning of the video. Download the skin from that website that I mentioned. It is down in the description. If you do that, you will be able to see all these things as well. And now you can simply add players by selecting them in here, click the add players button, and there you go. I'm just going to show you the groups that I have created, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the reasons why. For the first group, I have chosen to put Thomas Müller and Manuel Neuer as the two mentors. As you can see, they have a significant influence on the group and they take no effect from the group, which is ideal. For the mentees, I have chosen Vidovic, Piccoli and Musiala. Now Musiala you probably all know. He is, I think, actually in the first team squad at Bayern when you start the game. At least he is now. And the same story goes for Vidovic because he starts out in the under-19 squad, but I have moved him. And Roberto Piccoli is a new player at the club, also in the first team squad. Now, all three of those mentees play a similar position as Thomas Müller on the pitch. And if we look at Thomas Müller's profile and look at these player traits, I think we can all agree it would not be the worst thing in the world if those, or any of those really, get transferred to those mentees. So that's kind of why I put them in the same group as Thomas Müller. Again, it was not necessary for me to put Manuel Neuer also in there as a second mentor, but I'm gonna try it. Because apart from the transfer of player traits, there are two more goals I have set for this first group. The first one being to get Roberto Piccoli, who is a new player at the club and is now in the secondary social group B, to that core social group as fast as possible. And my third goal for this mentoring group has all to do with personality, because as you can see, most of them already have a good personality, so I'm not expecting too many changes there, except for Gabriel Vidovic. He is now only at a balanced personality, so I am kind of expecting that these two mentors with their driven personality transfer some of those hidden attributes into Gabriel Vidovic to hopefully improve his personality. So that is all for group 1. Second group, I have chosen Joshua Kimmich as a mentor. Why? Well, if I go to Kimmich and I go to his coach summary, you can see a little thing right here that says complete role model for younger players. So even though Kimmich is not a team leader as such, he is an awesome mentor, man. And for this second mentoring group, I again have 3 goals. First of all, I want Kimmich to transfer his personality to those other 3 players, who are, by the way, Nianzou, Quissos and Alphonso Davies. Because as you can see, Kimmich is a model professional, which is one of the best personalities out there. And the other ones, balanced, fairly determined, not really impressive if you ask me. So I'm hoping to give that a major boost by putting them in the same group as Kimmich. Second goal is to get Nianzou, he is now in the secondary social group A, you know, those French players that we saw, to get him from there into the core social group. And the third goal, but this is kind of a bonus should it happen, is to transfer some of Kimmich's player traits to the other players, because as you can see, there is not really a negative trait in here, so anything that can be transferred, I'll happily take. And the third and final group is by no means a perfect group, because I've literally called it no worky, because if I'm honest, I'm not expecting a lot from this group. I have put our third team leader, Lewandowski, as the mentor for this group. He is a model professional, so anything of that personality that he can transfer to, for example, Upamecano or Marc Roca, is fine with me, but I'm not expecting it to happen. And why, you might ask? Well, if I sort by estimated influence, you can see that Lewandowski in fact has the significant influence on the group, which is to be expected because he's a team leader and he has an awesome personality. But we also see that Thilo Kehrer, also a new guy by the way at the club, and Marc Roca both also have an average influence on that same group. And if we look at the estimated effect, compare it with the other 2 groups and I think you see what I mean. So if anything, I am hoping that by doing it like this, at least Upamecano and Amadosic, our third new guy at the club, will get into the core social group as fast as possible. But to be honest, that is about it as far as my expectations go for this group. So guys, it is now the 31st of August 2021. I am going to play on for an entire season. I will get back to you when I get an email about anything concerning mentoring, and after that we are going to look at the results. Well, what do you know, after 1 month, let's say, it is the 1st of October, I have received my first email. Tanguy Nianzou has unfortunately picked up some negative personality traits from his mentoring group this month. He doesn't seem quite as ambitious, hidden attribute, as he was before. Now the question mainly is, how bad is this bothering me? Is this a reason for me to take Nianzou out of the group or to abandon the whole group at once? Well, no, because I know it's not the most positive news, I know that. But I'm gonna leave it. If I, of course, again, next month get another mail saying the same thing, then I might start rethinking my decision. But for now, I'm gonna leave it as it is. Second email, November 1st, and this is a surprise, man. Well, two things. Roberto Piccoli has unfortunately picked up, well, that's the same thing as Nianzou, some negative personality traits from his mentoring group. He seems less adaptable and less capable of approaching new challenges. I'm guessing this is like the adaptability hidden attribute. Again, same thing as with Nianzou. I'm not really too bothered about it unless it keeps coming back. Then I will probably act. And the second thing in this email is quite surprising to me because Amadozic is in that last no worky group, yet he has picked up some positive personality traits, which now make him a more ambitious player, which is awesome. He is focused on his craft and approaches each day with professionalism, so I'm guessing the professionalism hidden attribute also went up, and he appears to be handling the pressure, also a hidden attribute, of expectation much better. So this is awesome news. And to top it all off, within 2 months, Amadozic has actually learned a new player trait already. He now has the player trait, tries to play a way out of trouble, and I am wondering how the hell that is possible in that third group. Let's have a quick look. Let's just go over the players, man. Mark Roca does not have that player trait, okay? Upamecano, he does, and he is in the same position, playing position on the field as Amadozic, and Upamecano also has an average influence on the group, so maybe that's the thing. Lewandowski, yeah, that's what I thought, he doesn't have that trait. Thilo Kehrer also has that same player trait, and I think the most important thing to notice is that he also has an average influence on the group. So Amadozic is the one with the least influence on the group, but the highest effect from the group. So maybe the fact that 3 or 2 at least of those players have that actual trait already, both of them are playing in the same position as Amadozic on the pitch. I think that has to be it, right? That's the reason why after 2 freaking months, he already has this new player trait. Awesome. We are now halfway through January, and since the November email, I didn't get anything. Now, is that a bad thing, you might ask? I don't think so, man, because I'd rather have no news, which basically means the mentoring group is just carrying along, nothing happened, but something might happen in the future. I'd rather have that than an email like we saw before saying that someone kind of got a negative influence from the group, right? Now, if you are concerned because you're not getting any emails, you can always check the Dynamics tab, go to the Happiness, and here you also have a column called Training. And if there is an actual problem with training in general or mentoring exclusively, you will also see it here. But as you can see, everyone is quite happy, even this guy, even Cuisance, with the training. So no worries there, let's move on. And the first email I have gotten since November is this one. We are May 1st, so the season is pretty much over. And this email says that Michael Cuisance has picked up some mixed personality traits from his mentoring group. So positive ones, but also negative ones. So basically we have 4 things going up: ambition, professionalism, adaptability, and pressure. But he also seems to become a little more controversial, which is the controversy hidden attribute. Again, for me, this is actually a positive mail. Okay, he's become a little more controversial. Who cares, man? I think at this stage, we are going to fast forward to the end of the season and see the results. Yes, we are, because there were no more mails for mentoring after May 1st. So let's have a look at the groups and hopefully witness the fruits of our labor. Let's just tackle the 3 groups one at a time, shall we? For Group 1. The results are in, and Vidovic, the one that I kind of expected to improve or to be influenced most, has not changed at all. Now probably, but I'm not sure, I didn't go to the database to check his hidden attributes because I don't like doing that. But I think it is all because of his personality. He is still a balanced personality, so nothing has really changed. Maybe he's just really unambitious or whatever, or not professional, I don't know. But there has to be a reason why he didn't change, because the setup of this mentoring group was quite good. Also, of course, let's not forget I've only been at it for 1 season, and as I said like 25 minutes ago, mentoring is a really slow process compared to tutoring. So no changes for Vidovic, but for Musiala there were 2 attributes in game that actually changed. He got a +1 for determination and for leadership. But also no personality changes because Musiala is already a spirited personality, which is quite good. So that's probably the reason why. And he also didn't gain any player traits from Thomas Müller. Kind of a similar story for the last mentee in this group being Piccoli, but he also changed from the secondary social group B to the core social group. Is it purely because of the mentoring? No, I know that, but it certainly helped. And he also gained a +1 for his leadership attribute. All in all, not a bad result, but to be honest, this was the group I kind of expected most from. But as I have mentioned several times in the episode, mentoring is slow and it will not always give you the results that you expect, at least not overnight. Let's move on to Group 2. Now in this group, I think we have seen the most changes so far, because Nianzou, as Piccoli did, also changed social group. So he is now also in the core social group, which is awesome, and he got a +1 for leadership attribute. Cuisance, who started out with a balanced personality, he had a personality change, which is awesome, man. He is now fairly ambitious, which is really good compared to balanced. He didn't gain anything as far as determination or leadership goes, and also no traits were passed. Third and final mentee in this group was Alphonso Davies. He already had a pretty decent personality with fairly determined, but now, what do you know, he has gotten a boost and he is now driven. And he also got a +1 for determination. So again, I think Group 2 has had the most changes over that 1 season, but it's also quite normal because also as Group 1, the setup of this group was pretty nice. We had a good mentor, we had decent mentees. The only thing that didn't happen really is the passing of player traits, but hey, we can't have it all, right? And finally, Group 3, the no worky group, which I expected nothing from, to be honest. But look at this. First of all, Marc Rosa left the club in January to go to Barcelona, so ignore him. But the 3 mentees left, I think they did pretty well. Upamecano changed social groups. He was first in the secondary social group B and is now also in that core social group. He didn't gain any like determination or personality attributes, but I guess that's okay since he was already fairly determined. Our new signing Kehrer didn't really undergo a personality change, but he was already ambitious, so that was kind of to be expected. He did gain a +2 for his determination stat. And last but not least, and you saw it in the email, our friend Amadosic first of all changed social groups, which is awesome. He is also now in the core social group, gained a +1 for leadership, and gained a whole new player trait. So all in all, Group 3, against all the odds, I would say, has been quite a success, man. And breathe. It took a lot of work to make this episode, I'm not gonna lie, and if you appreciate that, don't forget to hit the like button, sub to the FM Scout channel, and also feel free to check out my own channel. All the links you need are down in the description. So guys, with mentoring behind us, we are moving on in the next video to individual training. So if you have any questions whatsoever about that, use that comment section, let me know. I promise I will read them and I will take them into account when I make that next video. And with that guys, all that is left for me to say is a big thank you for all the support you've given me on the first video. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, take care, and I will see you in the individual training video. Peace out.